have more weapons. They have more consistent quarterback play. And both these defenses, in my opinion, are suspect. I mean, Detroit's defense looked really good the first week, and they did not look so good this last week. And Green Bay, they had an awful first half of this past week against the Jets, but then they looked great in the second half. And kind of the same thing, you go back to the first week when they were at Seattle, they didn't look great, but they were still in that game up until the end of the game, up until the last, I want to say the very end, but at least the last quarter, they were in this game. And so to me, I still think Green Bay has a large amount of talent. And I still, they're my Super Bowl pick in the NFC, and I still think that's going to bode true.
And Steve, I don't disagree with you. I do think that Packers could arguably have a better offense than the Lions, but the reality is the Packers' defense is pretty bad. And I think what you're going to see is the Lions' rushing game just come alive against the 31st ranked rushing defense in the league. And Matt Stafford and Calvin Johnson should have a field day on the Packers. There's no reason why they shouldn't be eating up that secondary at will this coming weekend. And if there's a game for the Lions to beat the Packers in, it's this one in Detroit.
I would definitely take the over if anyone's placing a bet.
Yeah,
this is going to be a high-scoring game. There's going to be a lot of points.
I'll tell you this: if Green Bay falls behind like they did against the Jets, they will not be able to come back on the Lions.
Yeah, I don't see that either.
Throw that out there.
I don't see that either. And I will say the Lions had 4 sacks against the Panthers last week, and I want to say that they had 4 sacks the week before. I think they're going to be up in Aaron Rodgers' face a little bit this week, and I think it'll be uncomfortable.
And they are also pretty good against the run as well. So if they decide that they want to remember that they have Eddie Lacy on their team, because they've completely ignored him for the most part until it's too late, it's not going to bode well. I think Detroit wins this one.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Steve. I think you take the over, but I'd also say, let's say in a daily game, Matt Stafford should be a quarterback you should consider playing, because he should be going nuts. I mean, if he's not throwing 4 TD passes this week, and I would be stunned.
All right.
Anyway.
No, and you know what, Steve? Why don't you stay right on the hot seat, because you are the point of difference on the last 2 games that we have to talk about.
Oh my God!
So either you're going to make up a ton of ground, or you're digging yourself a hole here. The San Francisco 49ers, they are at the Arizona Cardinals. Jim and I are picking the 49ers on the road, and you are sticking with the Cardinals. Are you making that pick under the assumption that Carson Palmer starts?
No. I'm making that pick because San Francisco, they have a lot of issues. And Arizona is a much improved team. They proved it with their 2-0 start, and they looked good in those first 2 games, where San Francisco, they looked good in game 1. But this game against Chicago, after, just like Jim said, it's like somebody punched him in the mouth. And you're going on the road to Arizona. It's a division game. To me, I just think that there are too many issues with the 49ers to be confident in taking them. And, everyone's going to say, oh, well, they have this talent, they have that talent. I believe that they have a lot of gaps and a lot of holes, and I am still 1,000% not sold on Colin Kaepernick, and he only proved it this past game against the Bears. So I think they're going into Arizona, and they're going to be playing a very tough team on the road. And to me, this honestly, I didn't lose a lot of sleep over this pick. It wasn't as much of a difficult decision for me.
I don't. This being a division game, I think San Francisco has enough to beat Arizona, especially if Carson Palmer is still playing with a bum shoulder and they have to go with Drew Stanton. Which, if it's a nerve problem, like they're saying it is, I don't see it going away anytime soon. So that's why I picked the Niners.
Yeah, I walked in thinking that Drew Stanton would be the quarterback, but I also see it as a game that the 49ers should bounce back. I mean, they have to be just utterly, I'm not even sure what the word would be. they can't feel good about this loss to the Bears. And I think they're going to come out with a chip on their shoulder with lots to prove, and they're going to be the guys punching the other guys in the mouth first.
Yeah, if they don't feel sick to death over how they lost to the Bears, then they're gutless.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think then Jim Harbaugh ends up on the hot seat in a big way.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
All right, and the final game to talk about is the Monday night game.
Mm-hmm.
The Chicago Bears travel to the New York Jets. Jim and I are part of the faithful. We believe that they will win. You're picking the Jets. Why? I
believe the end of this San Francisco game was an anomaly. Chicago, in the first two games, well, let's say the first 6 quarters that they've played this season have not looked good. Yes, they looked good last night after halftime. But to me, I still think there are a lot of issues with Chicago. The defense, there's still a ton of issues with them. Losing Peanut Tillman is a huge blow as far as leadership and playmaking abilities. And the Jets, they blew a lead against Green Bay. And the same as what you just said about San Francisco, Keith. They're going to be at home. It's on national TV Monday night. If they proved anything last season where they won pretty much every game at home, even though they lost all the ones on the road, they are a very tough team to beat at home because, their offense is vastly improved, I believe, over last year. I think Geno Smith has made some strides, and their defense is solid. They have a strong defense. They just blew it against Green Bay. But to me, this would be a push game. If they were playing in Chicago, I would have picked Chicago. But playing on the road, Monday Night Football in New York, I am just not sold on Chicago yet. I hope I'm wrong. I really seriously hope I'm wrong, being a Bears fan. But I got my issues.
You have no soul.
I got soul. I just don't. I'm not a homer.
Oh, you said you were though. You wanted to talk about the Bills so bad. You even admitted you were a homer.
Different kind of homer
for the wrong team. All right. So there's our Week 3 picks, folks. There you have it. Take them with you for what you will. The battle for the beer stein of knowledge continues, and now that the Philadelphia Eagles and Indianapolis Colts have ended their game with a Philadelphia victory, all three of us idiots finished 9-7 last week. So that puts the standings at me still leading the way, 20-12, Jim 18-14, and Steve at 17-15 for the season. The points of contention or pride, well, Jim, you were the only one that picked Baltimore, as we said. I was the only one that picked Philadelphia. And Steve-O and me picked Buffalo. Jim picked Miami. Steve and Jim both picked Carolina. I picked Detroit. And then we were absolutely wrong about Tennessee. Well, what are your guys' thoughts on the Tennessee Titans?
Well, they took a huge step back in my eyes. That was a game that they were supposed to win based on how they played in Week 1. But it also says, I think, a lot about the Cowboys, which is probably why. Did all three of us take the Cowboys on the road?
No, all three of us picked the Titans.
No. I meant for this coming week.
For this, yes. All three of us picked.
Okay. I think it sort of changes our view of them a little bit, and certainly their defense might not be as bad as I think we all thought they would be, especially in Week 1. I don't know. I mean, God, it wasn't that they just lost to the Cowboys, but besides Delaney Walker, no one really on their team did anything of any significance. And last time I checked, when you play football, it's your playmakers that win the games for you. And here was a winnable game, and the playmakers they didn't come to play.
Sean Green ran for 40 yards on 5 carries, but what are you going to do with 5 carries?
Exactly.
And that to me is the biggest thing. Is Dallas finally wised up, gave DeMarco Murray the ball 29 times, and I mean the time of possession when you hold the ball 41 times to your opponent, only 41 minutes, your opponent only holding it 18 minutes, you're going to win that game as long as you can execute. And DeMarco Murray was a stud, and they just need to continue to run the ball like that, take the pressure off of Tony Romo.
If you look at, there's a trend, and teams that run the ball decently are winning. So all that talk about a passing league is a little bit of a misnomer, you know. Even a team like Philadelphia that has the credit for being a quick strike offense, they run the ball an awful lot.
A ton. I mean, I think there's sort of this. It's confused. It's you need more than one good running back, but that's always been the case. It was just that once a team found a workhorse running back, they never gave their second or thirds really much of any touches. Just sort of give the guy a break and don't fumble.
How about this stat? The Cowboys held the ball for 41 minutes and 11 seconds.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, the Titans.
I just said that, Keith.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that.
You don't listen to me when I speak.
Clicking around. Sorry.
Oh, counseling alert.
You know what, Steve? Do my dishes. There.
Do my dishes.
All right. What else? What else did we get wrong? We were wrong about the Saints, obviously. We already hashed that one. Pretty good. We picked Tampa Bay last week to beat the Rams at home. And if you remember, my quote was that if Tampa Bay loses this game, they should fire Lovie Smith on general principle. And sure enough, with Austin Davis at quarterback, it turned out to be enough. The Rams with a 2-point win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Josh McCown had another ugly interception, if I'm not mistaken. Did I see that?
Yeah,
right?
he had a little bit of a better game this week than last week, though.
Yeah, I mean, he 16 of 21, 179 yards with a pick, no touchdowns. Austin Davis, 22 of 29 for 235 yards. Not bad for the third stringer.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. You know, the Bucs need to get Vincent Jackson involved early and more often. They really didn't start getting the ball to him until later in the game. And the only other playmaker they really had involved was Chris Rainey, who, by the way, was impressive.
St. Louis had 8 possessions and only 2 punts. 2 punts and a fumble. The rest were touchdowns and field goals. 1 touchdown and 4 field goals.
That's very un-Lovie Smith-like for the defense.
Mm-hmm.
And really, well, let me take that back. There were years that the Bears did not have a very good defense when Lovie was the head coach, but you would just not expect that from a first-year head coach like him. You would figure these guys would be fighting for him.
And you look at that though, and I'm digging in. Part of the what do you call it? The things I like about Pro Football Focus is that when you look at the Week 2 scores, there's a link to the NFL game book, and it's got all the official stats and whatnot. And the St. Louis Rams held the ball for 10 minutes in the fourth quarter. 10
That's
minutes
insane.
In the fourth quarter. And the Rams' average start was their own 16-yard line. I just don't understand how that's possible. And not win that game. I don't understand how Tampa Bay does not win that game. But it is what it is, I guess. What else were we wrong about? We all picked Seattle to beat the Chargers. I thought that defense was unstoppable. I guess I was wrong.
Well, it was shocking how, because their offense wasn't bad. Russell Wilson had a good game, but the defense just, I don't know if they got cocky after last week or whatnot, but they were a shadow of their Week 1 team. It was insane.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see them play the Broncos. I mean, I know we've all taken the Seahawks at home, and I believe that pick. But if there was one thing you could credit the Chargers for, was they have the smaller receivers, the faster receivers, and you look at the Broncos, and without Eric Decker and you put Emmanuel Sanders in, suddenly they're a faster group.
Yeah.
They're missing Wes Welker. Well, they may not be missing Wes Welker this weekend. So it'll be interesting to see how they roll the offense out.
How about this? How about this? The Chargers ran the ball 37 times, counting Phillip Rivers' 11 attempts. Phillip Rivers threw the ball 37 times. On the flip side, Russell Wilson threw 25 times. The Seahawks as a team only ran 13 times.
That's really strange. Hey, has anybody ever explained why it was that Marshawn Lynch basically set out a big hunk of the game?
No, I've not heard anything about that.
Yeah, me neither. Not an injury or anything.
Yeah, I knew